welcome back to my channel. My name is Leah. In today's video I want to share with you some of the pros and cons of being a working mum. If you've seen my video on the pros and cons of being a stay-at-home mum, you'll know that there are difficulties and good things about being a stay-at-home mum, and I wanted to follow on from that and share with you the good parts and the not so nice parts of being a working mum. I just wanted to add something that I didn't mention in my last video on being a stay-at-home mum, is that when I say mum, I mean the main caregiver. So I am the main caregiver, so although I work and so does my husband, I am the main caregiver, so I go to work and I'm the one that has to get my little boy ready in the morning and be home for him when he comes home at night, and then get him ready for bed if Keith isn't home, which more often than not he isn't home. So it might be that the dad is the main caregiver, but in our case it is me. So when I say stay-at-home mum or working mum, I am talking about the main caregiver, and I just wanted to clear that up, and just in case anyone thought I was being sexist on that point, which I'm sure you didn't. But it is the main caregiver. You know, you can have a stay-at-home dad and that doesn't bother me at all, although Keith would have liked to be and I said no. Because I wanted to at least be the main caregiver, so that's the situation we're in. So I wanted to share some of the pros and cons of being a working mum, because we hear a lot about how it's so hard to be a stay-at-home mum, and I do agree with that full-heartedly, but it's so hard being a working mum as well. And although we do get a little relief from that while we are at work, we have all the other things to deal with. Sometimes hear stay-at-home mums say that it's so difficult because they've got to do this, that and the other at home, and they've got the children around, and I just think, well, I've got to do that as well, but I've also got to go to work part of the week, and I've got to do those jobs while my little child is around as well. And I've come to the conclusion that it is just hard being a parent, full stop. I think it's hard even if you're not the main caregiver. It's difficult because, well, I think in some ways it's more difficult for them when they are with the children, because they don't always know what is best for the child, why they're crying, and because they're not with them all the time. And sometimes we as the main caregiver expect them to be able to know everything, and yet they don't, because they're not with them all the time, and why would they know if we don't tell them? But I have come to the conclusion that just being a parent in general is difficult, and no matter your circumstances, it is hard, and we just have to deal with the circumstances that we've been granted the best we can. And sometimes those circumstances are chosen for us, and sometimes we have chosen them for ourselves. And sometimes we have to go to work because we financially cannot be at home, and sometimes you don't go to work because you financially can't afford to go to work because of childcare costs. There's so many options and so many reasons why people do what they do. So I wanted to do kind of both sides. There are pros and cons of being a stay-at-home mum, and there are pros and cons of being a working mum. And these are my pros and cons of being a working mum. If you haven't already seen my video of pros and cons of being a stay-at-home mum, I will link it below, go and check that out. And I will get on with my pros and cons of being a working mum now. Number one is that you can contribute to the family financially, and that it can be a big one for some people. Sometimes you feel like you can't buy anything for yourself if you haven't been working for the money, but as far as I'm concerned, it's a family income and not just your income or his income or whatever your circumstances are. But it can feel so nice that you are contributing to the family, particularly when money's so tight, and it is, no matter whether you work or don't work, it is so tight for most people, and so that can just feel a little bit better that you are contributing to the family. Number two is that you can have an adult conversation. That can be a big one. It's nice to be able to talk to an adult and have them talk back to you, mostly in a nice way. It depends on the person you're speaking to, but it is nice, and that can keep you sane throughout the day. Number three is that you're doing something for yourself. Hopefully you enjoy your job and doing something that's for you, and not just so that you bring money into the family, but that you're actually contributing something to yourself and to the family. Number four is, if you are going to work and you're going out of the home to work, is that you're able to get out of the house on a regular basis, whether that's once a week, two times a week, or even 5 times a week. You're able to get out of the house on a regular basis. Obviously, if you are a stay-at-home mum, you can still get out of the house, but you haven't got anywhere specific to go sometimes, and you have to force yourself. If you're working and your workplace is away from the home, then you have to go out of the house. You are forced to go out of the house, and that can be a really, really good thing. So sometimes I know I can be a bit of a home bird and quite happy to stay at home, but I am a lot happier when I get myself out and about. Going to work means you are seeing a change of scenery on a regular basis. Number 5 is that you have an instant source of friendships, which is wonderful. You might have other friendships that you've had for many years, but these are people that you're going to see on a regular basis, and there can be some really nice friendships built there. And the last one, and this was a big one for me, is that you can eat your lunch uninterrupted and without a child trying to eat it for you. This can be a really big one for parents, particularly of young children. Either you're having to eat in between their feed times, or in my case, you've got a child who wants to eat your food no matter whether they've eaten their food or not yet. And you feel like I feel like I've got to eat up here where we can't reach. So it is nice to be able to sit, even just for those 20-30 minutes at work, and have a nice quiet lunch break. It's not always uninterrupted, but at least it's uninterrupted by a child. These are the cons of being a working mum. Number 1 is that you've got to be away from your child, and in my case a young child. He is 13 months old, and although he isn't very young, I did wait until he was 10.5 months old before going back to work. It is still quite young, and I know some mums have to go back to work when their child is a lot younger than that. So that definitely is a con, to have to go out to work and be away from your little child. Number 2 is that it's really hard to juggle everything. You've got work on one hand and then family on the other hand, and if you are the main caregiver, you're having to get home from work and deal with your child, bath them, get them changed for bed, and get their dinner maybe, get your own meal ready, and make sure the home's dealt with, housework. In our home I do a lot of the housework. I don't do it all, but the reason why I do it a lot, because my husband works long hours and I just feel like I can't expect him to do a lot more, and he does help out a lot already, and keeping the house clean and tidy is more my thing, and I quite often like to do things in a certain way, so it's just easier for me to do that. And I've asked him to do certain jobs that he can do without me kind of telling him how to do it, so it works for us. But it does mean that I've got to juggle both work and home, and then sometimes at work I've got a project on or a deadline and I'm having to leave work with it undone, and that feels really uneasy for me. I'm quite a dedicated person. I like to see something through, and to walk away from something that's not finished yet, knowing that it should be finished, or you've not got enough time tomorrow to finish it off, that is really, really difficult. But I have to do it because I've got a child who will be at home waiting for me, and he needs my attention as well. So that is a real struggle with trying to balance work and family at the same time. Number 3 is similar, and it's that you have all the housework to do on top of going to work. So you're out of the house so many days of the week for work, and then in the evenings on your days off and at the weekend you have to fit in doing the housework and the laundry and the meals, and just because you're at work doesn't mean you have any less housework to do, and definitely not less laundry to do. That just keeps building up no matter what, and you've got to fit that in around everything else that you need to do with work and at home. Number 4 is, if you've got a child who is below nursery age of getting a free space, is that you've got to pay for childcare costs, and they can be high. I'm in the process of looking at childcare costs. My little boy is currently going to my mum's on a weekly basis, but he will soon have to go into some form of childcare, and the costs are so high, and trying to find the money for that when things are already tight is really difficult. And obviously if you are at work, you do need to find the money for that. Number 5 is that on a work day you don't get to see your child for very long. I get to see my little boy for around 30 minutes in the morning, depending on what time he wakes up, and for around 1 hour in the evening. So it's not very long really, and normally at those times he's quite tired. He's just woken up or he's getting ready to go to bed, so he's not at his best, and that is not very nice sometimes. I would like to have seen him at his better time of the day. Sometimes when I'm at home with him during the week on my days off, he's in such a good mood and he's giggling away and laughing, and I just wish his dad would come home to see him like that, because by the time he comes home he is definitely ready for bed or he's already in bed, and he misses out on that. and I know I must be missing out on that as well on the days that I'm not with him. And the last one is that it's really hard to fit in time for things for yourself. So you've got work to deal with, you've got a family to deal with and home to deal with. How do you fit in time to do something for yourself, just for you? That is really difficult when you've got so many other things to juggle in your life. But it's so important. We definitely need to do things for ourselves. And that is difficult. I sometimes feel like I'm just on autopilot most of the time and don't really do anything for myself, and if I do it for myself, I've usually got a child in the background or I'm doing something else at the same time. And so just being able to do something that's uninterrupted for yourself, that's so important, but it's so difficult to fit in when you've got so many other responsibilities. Well, that's all my pros and cons for being a working mum. I need to go because I've got a little boy who has just woken up and he obviously needs my attention. I hope you've enjoyed this video. Go and check out the other video in the comments below, and if you're a working mum, let me know how you deal with it. How do you juggle everything? What do you enjoy about being a working mum and what don't you enjoy about being a working mum? If you've enjoyed this video, give it a thumbs up and don't forget to subscribe, and I will see you in my next video. Bye!